In 1964, Frank arrives at the New York World's Fair with a big bag containing his invention, which he plans to enter into a competition at the fair. When he gets in, he greets a man named Nix and shows him his invention, which is a jetpack. Nix looks impressed by this, and as Frank talks about the jetpack, a young girl named Athena, who works with Nix, asks Frank if he made it himself. Frank says he did, and just then, Nix asks if it works. However, Frank confesses that it doesn't work very well yet. Nix then says he can't accept it because it doesn't work. Frank is disappointed, and as he leaves the building, Athena says she likes him, though Nix objects. Just as he sits outside and wonders if he's a failure, just like his father used to call him, Athena sits next to him and gives him a lapel pin with a big T on it. She then tells Frank to follow her without letting anyone know. As Athena leaves, Frank sneakily follows her and puts the lapel pin on his shirt after he sees Nix do the same thing as he enters a ride. Frank also enters an empty boat and follows them on the ride. As he enters the tunnel, he doesn't see Nix and Athena anymore, and as he wonders where they are, a laser scans the lapel pin. Just like that, an underground door opens and it leads Frank to a place where he sees a big machine that looks like a tram. Immediately he goes in, the door gets shut, and the windows are also blocked, after which the tram starts shaking and Frank's sight gets blurry. Shortly after, the movement stops, and Frank steps out on a platform in a foggy place. As he looks around, he sees Athena and Nix in a flying object, and as he waves for them to wait, big robots appear in front of him. As he tries to avoid getting hit by them, he falls from the platform and lands badly, with his jetpack also breaking as well. Frank is again disappointed and sad until a robot comes over and fixes it for him. As he thanks the robot, some men start chasing him. He tries to run but stumbles and falls again. Frank remembers that his jetpack has been fixed, and immediately he picks it up and turns it on. He is shocked to see that it now works well. After moving around and admiring the futuristic place he happens to be in, he sees Athena and decides to go and meet her. His landing is not perfect, but he's able to show Athena and Nix that his jetpack now works. Nix just ignores him, but Athena looks happy to see him. Frank then looks around and asks Athena where they are, after which she just smiles and shows him around. Many years later, a girl named Casey rides her bike to a NASA launch site that is about to be demolished. Casey doesn't want this to happen because her dad would lose his job, so she aims to sabotage all the demolition equipment. Her mission for the night is successful, and she soon heads home. Casey's brother, Nate, catches her entering the house late, and she tells him not to wake their dad with his loud voice. Nate realizes that Casey is trying to stop the demolition of their dad's workplace, and he encourages her not to quit. That night, Athena shows up at Casey's house and drops a lapel pin with the big T on her bike. The next morning, Casey's dad, Eddie, receives a call to inform him that the demolition equipment at his workplace suddenly stopped working. When he drops the call, he says it's weird and looks shocked. But Nate and Casey look happy. However, their joy is cut short when Eddie tells them that a new set of equipment is expected to reach the site by noon. Casey doesn't look happy about this, and as she's set to head out to school, Eddie tells her nothing will stop the demolition, and he will eventually lose his job, no matter the delay. Casey tells him to have some hope, because something could still happen. That night, Casey sets out again to the NASA site, but this time the cops are prepared for her, and she's arrested. After a while in custody, her bail gets paid, and as she collects her things from a cop, she sees the lapel pin Athena dropped for her. Casey insists it's not for her, but the cop says it was found on her bike. Casey decides to leave with it, but as she touches it, she appears to enter a new world. She immediately screams and drops the pin. As she tries to touch it again, the new world in the middle of nowhere appears. She finally decides to touch it gently, but as she takes a walk in the new world, her head bumps into the wall, and she realizes that she has not left where she is. Before she attracts unnecessary attention, Casey picks up the lapel pin with a piece of paper and heads into Eddie's car. Eddie is angry at Casey for what she did, and he tells her she almost got him into a lot of trouble. Casey doesn't seem interested in all of that, as the pin is all that worries her. She tells Eddie about the pin, but it doesn't seem to work for him when he touches it. Eddie takes the pin from her and complains that she's not taking him seriously. When they get home that night, Casey sneaks to Eddie's room to get the pin back. As she sees that she needs to be in a clear area to be able to explore the new world, she goes to an empty land area and begins to walk around. She soon gets to a futuristic place with many interesting technologies that amazes her. Suddenly, She figures that she can be seen, but just before she gets on a rocket with a group of space engineers, a timer at the back of the pin reaches 0, and Casey returns to her real world, where she happens to have walked into a swamp. When she gets home, she wakes Nate and tells him to give her their dad's password. Nate agrees to help only if she tells him what's going on, and because of that, she tells him about the pin. She also tells him to check online to see if they can find out more things about it. After a while, they see a store looking to buy the pin, and since they must at least have answers about it, Casey decides to track down the store. She tells Nate to lie to Eddie in the morning that she has to go on a camping trip with some friends. After Casey leaves the house, Athena goes there and asks Nate for her whereabouts. Nate initially lies about where Casey is, but soon realizes that Athena knows about the pin. With this, Nate tells her where Casey went. Meanwhile, Casey reaches the store and shows the pin to the woman behind the desk. As she sees it, she calls out her husband, whose attempt at a dramatic entrance fails. He asks where Casey got it, but Casey says she won't tell them anything if they don't answer her first. The couple then describe the things she saw when she touched the pin. As it sounds alike, Casey realizes that they know about the place, which they also say is real. Shortly after, they ask her where she got it, but Casey explains that she found it as part of her stuff after she was released by the police. The couple don't believe her, as they insist that a small girl must have given it to her. Casey doesn't know what they're talking about, but the couple soon get aggressive and try to kill her. Before they can, Athena shows up and saves Casey, after which she handles the couple, who turn out to be robots. Just as Casey tries to understand what happened, Athena says they must leave immediately. Casey insists that she'll drive, and as they get going, Athena explains that she was the one who left her the pin, and she was supposed to give Casey instructions before she ran off. She also tells Casey that the world she saw is real, but she needs her to help fix it, as it's not like it once used to be. Casey sounds very interested in going to the other world, and Athena tells her that a man named Frank, who also went to the other world as a kid, can take her there. Casey soon gets tired and can't drive for long, so Athena offers to help, saying she's harmless. Casey agrees, but just as she falls asleep, Athena drops her off on the road just outside Frank's house. Casey walks into the compound, but is soon chased back by Frank's dog. She, however, figures out that the dog is a hologram, and with this, she goes to the door and starts calling for Frank to come out and take her to the other world. Frank tells her to leave, but as soon as she shows the pin to the camera, she gets blasted to the floor. Frank then comes out looking much older and asks who gave her the pin. Casey says it was Athena, and she was the one who brought her to Frank's house, though she eventually ditched her. Frank tells Casey to leave, pointing out that what she saw when she touched the pin was a commercial, and the place is now different from whatever she saw. However, Casey doesn't listen and stays in front of his door even as it rains. Eventually, she's able to come up with a plan to distract Frank and lock him out of his house while she goes in. Frank tells her not to touch anything, but it's exactly what she does. Not long after, Frank finds his way in while Casey is in a room with many computers that show different parts of the world in chaos. Casey continues to disturb him to take her to the other world, saying she doesn't know why he would leave such a place after seeing it. Frank tells her he was kicked out, and as he starts to talk about an imminent apocalypse, he asks Casey if she would like to know when she dies. Casey says she would like to know, though she won't believe him. Suddenly, Frank's probability monitor switches from 100% to 99%, and this forces Frank to look at Casey and ask who she is. Before she answers, a team of robots arrive at the door and tell Frank to hand over Casey to them on the order of Nix. However, Frank decides against this, and as the robots break in, he and Casey are able to fight their way out and escape. As Frank tries to start his bike so they can leave, Athena shows up in a truck and asks them to join her. Even though Frank hesitates at first, he eventually joins them. However, during the ride, Frank tries to discourage Casey from going to the other world, saying Athena shouldn't have given her the pin. Athena then tells both of them that she only scouts for dreamers, and they are the only ones who fit the bill. Frank asks her if Casey can fix what's coming, but Athena says she doesn't know, though she thinks Casey is special. Soon after, they arrive at Frank's wire station, which is where they'll get into a teleportation device that will take them to the pod which leads to the other world. As Casey seems really optimistic, Frank tells her he won't let her go with them. Casey insists that she's going, and Athena also agrees. Frank, however, faces Casey again and tells her that Athena doesn't care about her and everything she's doing is part of her programming. This doesn't convince Casey enough to stay back, and Frank has to bring her in. As they enter the teleportation device, Frank learns that Athena was also kicked out. And when he asks why she picked Casey, she says it's because Casey is motivated to help. The teleportation device starts running, and it takes them to the Eiffel Tower. There, they enter a room, and Frank explains to Casey that the scientists who created the other world made a secret entrance for themselves. He says the entrance can only be accessed using a rocket ship under the Eiffel Tower. Following this, he presses something, and the Eiffel Tower splits into two, with the rocket ship appearing from underground until it reaches where they are. Before they can leave, robots from the other world arrive at the scene. The robots immediately start climbing the tower to prevent them from leaving. However, they're too late as the three of them get strapped in, and the rocket takes them to the other world, which Frank calls Tomorrowland. When they get there, Frank hands over a bomb to Athena for safekeeping, saying it's their ticket out of there in case things go south. Nick soon comes over to meet them, and while he's surprised to see that Frank and Athena came to Tomorrowland despite their ban, he wonders who Casey is. After introducing herself, Frank says he thinks Casey can fix the world, and he can prove it because she got the probability percentage to go down to 99%. Casey looks shocked as she hears this, and even though Nick struggles to believe she's capable of what Frank says, he tells her that the world is ending. To show her and also figure out if she can do anything, they all climb a platform that takes them to an object called the Monitor, which can show the future and also see the past. Casey looks amazed and soon tries to see things with the Monitor. After going through her past, she is told to also check the future, and as she does so, she sees that the world is really ending in 58 days. Casey doesn't understand why they haven't told anyone yet, but Nick says there is nothing anyone can do. She then talks about bringing people to Tomorrowland. However, Nix disagrees and says if the entire world population could get into his world, they would ruin it. Casey is disappointed to hear this, and she walks away. Suddenly, Nix and Frank see a change in the outcome from the screen. Nix is shocked by this, but just as Frank tries to convince him that Casey can help them, Nix knocks him out. When he wakes up, Athena tells Frank that they're getting deported again. When they go closer to Casey, she says she doesn't get the point of coming, and they could have just told her the world was ending. As she's about to return the lapel pin, she suddenly has a series of flashbacks of when she first picked the pin and when she saw the screens in Frank's house. At that point, she realizes that the end of the world is actually an illusion created by the Monitor. She says the Monitor is forcing the idea of an apocalyptic event in the minds of everyone because it wants the world to end. She tells them they need to turn off the Monitor, but just as she says it, Nix and his guards come in. He then opens a portal to an island, telling them it's the perfect place to spend their last days on Earth. Casey says she has figured out how to save the world, and it's to shut down the Monitor. Nix doesn't look interested, and as Casey wonders why he won't do anything, Frank realizes that Nix is behind it. Nix confirms and says he did it because humans don't care about imminent danger. He says he intentionally put the ideas in their head because when he tried to warn people about a potential end, they just accepted it as natural and even made games and shows out of it instead of trying to do something meaningful. After this, Nix tells them that they have to accept it. As Frank and the others are about to be pushed into the island, Nix shakes Frank and says it was a pleasure to see him. Meanwhile, Frank uses this as an opportunity to control the device on Nix's hand to bring down the platform that took them to the Monitor. He then starts fighting Nix, with Athena and Casey also fighting the guards. Frank then tells Athena to use the bomb he gave her to blow up the Monitor, since Nix says it can't be shut down. As he hears this, Nix programs his big robots to stop them from doing anything. However, Athena gives the bomb to Casey and asks her to climb the platform and blow up the Monitor while she takes care of the robots. She reprograms one of the robots to fight the other one, and Nix and Frank also take their fight to the island. Athena's reprogrammed robot punches Nix's robot out of the portal, and it struggles to come back in. Meanwhile, Casey arms the bomb, but struggles to reach the Monitor because the platform is unstable due to Nix and Frank fighting and repeatedly changing its direction. The platform eventually falls, but Athena is able to save it with one of the robots, though Casey loses the bomb. As the other robot is still trying to come in, Athena shuts down the portal to cut it in half, leaving Nix and Frank stranded on the island. Casey finds the bomb and asks Athena what to do, since she can't reach the platform before the bomb explodes. Athena opens the portal to the island and instructs her to throw it there, while telling Frank to get back in. Frank does so, but Nix follows him, and just as the bomb explodes, the portal is shut, and a large object falls on Nix and traps his legs. Seeing as he still needs to stop them, Nix picks up one of the blasters and shoots Frank. However, it turns out that it has not happened yet, and Athena only saw a glimpse of the future. As Nix is about to shoot, she jumps in front of Frank, and the bullet goes through her body. Frank immediately carries Athena to try to take her to a repair pod, but Athena says it's too late. She then says she has always wanted to tell him something. She tells Frank that she was always happy around him, and that she had feelings for him, even though her program didn't allow that. Before she enters a self-destruct mode that will see her explode, she tells Frank to use her to blow up the monitor. Frank doesn't look happy with this, but he has no choice. He gets a jetpack and flies to the monitor. He then drops her there and the monitor explodes, with a pile of debris from it landing on Nix to kill him. After the explosion, Frank and Casey start to think of what to do next, and just then, they realize that they need to remodel Tomorrowland to look like what it once used to be. Shortly after, Casey uses a portal to go home and shows her dad what she has been doing. She also brings Eddie along to be one of the engineers in Tomorrowland. Much later, they produce the Tomorrowland pins and hand them out to the new set of robots, who they ask to search from dreamers around the world and give it to them. The robots don't waste any time starting this, and they drop it off with people from all over the world, with all of them touching the pin and landing at the starting point of their journey to Tomorrowland. Thanks for tuning in. A thumbs up would be amazing because I've got some bills to pay.
Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette.